What's going on, guys? Unknown Player here, and today we're back with another Forsaken video with a bunch more stuff to talk about and round up. There are some pretty interesting things going down in the Dreaming City, and the story is actually progressing in ways you may not have noticed, so I want to talk about that and some unreleased content and things that we're going to see in the future. We've also got more news and announcements from Bungie that want to round up, what's going to happen on Tuesday with the biggest update since Forsaken's launch, and a bunch more exotic and general loot stuff as well. So, as always, if you enjoy this video and want to support the channel, a like rating helps out a ton, and let's get into it. So let's talk about what's actually going on inside the Dreaming City and how the story is progressing. Some characters are involved and there's a bunch of weird stuff going down. As you've probably heard, Petravenge now actually knows and is commenting on how she is in a time loop, and she actually knows exactly what's going on. Her and all the Awoken have been trying to fight it, trying to see if they can do things differently, if their choices are determined to always kind of reach this final outcome. She's also talking about having these strange dreams and seeing these visions, all this other weird stuff. So in general, they're kind of catching on to what's going on inside the city, this loop that Dull and Karu, of course, caused by Savathun. Now, in addition to Savathun, there is actually another character involved in this whole plot line I haven't talked about just yet, but is a very big part of this, and you may have seen some teasers involving them so far. So who this character is actually a VEX mind, a VEX Hydra named Curia Blade Transform that's actually billions of years old and dates all the way back to Oryx's times. So for a very brief story, essentially Savathun actually tricked Crota, her nephew, into opening up a portal that let the VEX into Oryx's throne world. So then the VEX built this mind Curia Blade Transform to try and learn how Oryx works, how his magic works, and how to defeat him, of course. So the VEX then learned that by worshipping the darkness, they can also get power the same as Oryx, and that's what he started doing. And as a side note, that is what the Black Garden and Vault of Glass are actually for. Those are imitating what the VEX saw billions of years ago inside Oryx's throne world. So then after millions of years of the VEX fighting the Hive non-stop and Crota and Savathun trying to beat them, they couldn't. Oryx eventually steps in and just destroys the VEX completely. Now, for some reason, and I don't know why, but Oryx actually gave Curia to Savathun as a gift, so Savathun now has Curia. Now, Curia, as I'm sure you've noticed, has been teased a bunch of times so far in Destiny 2. There are a bunch of her minions, even the new ones in the Lost Sector, in the Dreaming City. You can see a bunch of kind of teasers the same way you see stuff for Savathun. So for over 5 billion years, Savathun has had this VEX mind, Curia, that knows everything about Oryx, his darkness, his power, his magic, his secrets. It's also weird because Curia, of course, knows how to time travel and all the VEX weird stuff. So you got the two most powerful kind of races so far, the Hive and the VEX, both together in this one kind of partnership. And this also seems to be the reason of why the Dreaming City is in a time loop, how Savathun actually managed that. Of course, Savathun's actual wish with Riven was for the city to be kind of plagued by the Taken Curse and invaded, and also for her daughter, Dull and Karu, to take over the Shattered Throne, which of course is Mara's throne world. It seems to be with Curia's help that they're able to manipulate time and set it in an infinite loop, so that is where the whole thing comes together pretty much. There are also a bunch of hints inside Forsaken that Savathun may actually already be in the solar system, but she's just invisible and kind of undetectable to our light. Multiple characters actually mentioned this, but Riven in particular did say how she didn't notice Savathun arrive either, and she kind of slipped by undetected, and she also said the light definitely would not be able to detect her. Savathun did visit Riven. She has been right here in this exact tower that we are in the raid. Savathun's been here, but she of course is undetectable to us, so she may be in a different realm, like the Ascendant realm or something like that. It also makes sense because Savathun is this master of lies and trickery and deceiving people, so she could be a disguise. She could be a character in our universe that we don't know of. I don't think we're going to see or even fight Savathun or Curia Blade Transform. I think I'll probably be in like next September's DLC, to be honest. But based on the way we're already seeing the story progress and change in different dialogues in these missions, I do think there's definitely going to be some kind of conclusion. One thing I noticed and I've been thinking about for quite a while now is this scene in a trailer, and you can see a Guardian is actually riding a Sparrow on this massive bridge that leads to the main spire in the city. This, if you don't know, is not actually possible in the entire game. You can't get onto this bridge at all. You never actually go to it. You cross through an Ascendant realm during the raid, but this bridge is never accessed. The way I see it, I think there are three possibilities. So firstly, this could be like a scrapped or cut version of a mission, so something that was in the game they took out later on. The second possibility is that you could never actually do this at all in the game, but someone at Bungie thought it would look cool for a trailer, so just did it anyway. Or the third possibility is that there is some kind of mission or quest line or some activity where in the future you can actually do this thing and ride the Sparrow on the main bridge. Of course, the only activity that actually uses this space is the raid, so that would mean it takes place inside here somewhere, which would be cool. But I have been thinking for a while, when are we going to get to ride our Sparrows on the main bridge? It does look very cool, but maybe one day it will happen, or maybe it was just a thing that looked cool for a trailer. One thing I and a lot of people did notice was pretty strange about the Shattered Throne, the final boss, is that once you beat her, you get 90 seconds before you go to orbit. I'm pretty sure every single activity in Destiny always has a 10 to 30 second timer of when it counts down and sends you to orbit to the next thing. I mean, there is something something similar in the Mindbender adventure. Of course, if you stick around and don't go through the portal, it gives you plenty of time. You can jump up, get a key, and open a secret door to open a chest. Maybe it's something to be figured out the next time the Shattered Throne rolls around. Maybe it's absolutely nothing, who knows. Now, as far as the corrupted eggs go, nobody in the world has actually got all of them just yet, so there's most likely going to be something unlocked or at least earned from getting all of them done. So we're still waiting on another 2 weeks of the Ascendant challenges. So of course, the first 2 weeks, nobody had the Wish Ender bow, so you couldn't shoot those eggs, they're immune. I still do think the reward is going to be this exotic Sparrow because it makes sense. It fits the same as the War Mine quest, where you also shoot 45 things and get a Sparrow. And it also just vaguely says that it is earned through Dreaming City, which makes sense because the eggs are all over the place. Something else interesting is that once you unlock all of the Ascendant chests, so the 10 per week on all 3 weeks of the cycle, it still does actually get you the main triumph of getting them all. You can see all 3 weeks are completed, but of course the main triumph is still not unlocked, so it's pretty weird how that does make sense. Unless it's a bug, which I doubt. I do think there's probably some more Ascendant chests in other places, probably ones we haven't found yet. Now, there have also been a few other weird things going down this week inside Destiny. Firstly is that Bungie removed the game mode Breakout. This of course was the brand new Crucible game mode for Forsaken. Now it's been removed because it saw a ton of negative feedback, a ton of backlash. In addition to people just not liking the mode overall, I believe there were also some exploits and kind of basic cheats you could do to farm the system. And of course, this is a mode in competitive, so Bungie acted very quickly. But it is pretty weird. I mean, the main mode that came with Forsaken for Crucible is no longer in the game and probably won't be for a good couple weeks or maybe months from now until they fix it. But at least it's not paid for Forsaken content. It's not something we paid for that's been taken away. It's just a free update. All the Crucible stuff is free for everyone. The next thing I wanted to talk about is that Bungie's made a pretty surprising announcement, but that is that going forward, every purchase of Forsaken is going to include Curse of Osiris and Warmind. This mainly applies to people who had Destiny 2, the base game, and then quit, and now coming back for Forsaken, they need to go and buy Warmind and Curse of Osiris, which are completely irrelevant. So just to clarify, when you buy Forsaken by itself, you're now going to get for free included Curse of Osiris and Warmind. So you're going to get those. They're not just making it so they're not required. They're giving you free content. So I think it's definitely a smart move and should have been like this from the first place. So it's good to see. But of course now, what about everyone else who's already purchased DLCs? Now this is actually really good news. So anyone like us who's actually played Forsaken up until the 16th of October, next Tuesday, we're going to get a bunch of free stuff. This is going to be the Veterans of the Hunt bundle. So you've got a very familiar black and white tiger stripe emblem and also a shader. This seems to be a throwback to the old VIP rewards back in Taken King of Destiny 1. Of course, there was a shader called the Old Guard, which was the most kind of black, cool looking one in the game. At the time, it was pretty much the closest thing to super black. So of course, everyone rocked it. It was very popular. We're also getting 2 exotic items. So these are emotes. You can see the knife trick emote, the same thing that Petra did with Cade, and also a coin flip emote, which I'm hoping actually works and is real, and you can get 2 different outcomes that are random. And then you're also going to get a consumables bundle, which is some fireteam medallions, a Vanguard and Crucible boons, and the finest matter waves. So yeah, Bungie is giving us this free exclusive loot as basically an apology for them now giving out these 2 DLCs for free to new players. I'll be fine with it as long as the shader looks nice, but who knows? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. So now let's talk about what's happening in Destiny next week. Of course, the big festival of the Lost event and also the big update accompanying it. Bungie actually said that Eva Levante has properly disappeared, so she has gone somewhere, no one knows where she is, and she isn't going to be returning. Instead, Amanda Holiday is going to host the festival this year. I mean, she is by far the most useless vendor in the entire tower, so I guess it's something for her to do now. There's going to be triumphs and daily bounties that award fragmented souls, and these are all used as currency to buy masks and also gear like this auto rifle. Its name is the Horror Story, and obviously it's a reskin of the Origin Story, so it makes sense with the name, but it will be interesting to see what perks this thing does have. It of course needs to be good. I mean, it wouldn't really make sense for it to be random rolls, so I assume it's going to have some kind of perks or something to make it unique as an auto rifle. The Hunter in the background does seem to be using a new ornament for the Fighting Lion grenade launcher. Looks like it's made out of paper a little bit. The Infinite Forest has been remade into the Haunted Forest, so during this event, I'm not sure if it's going to go away after, but it's going to be a weird sort of horde mode variation. Essentially, you've got 15 minutes to get as far as you can, and the enemy is going to get harder and way more difficult the further you go, so I assume it's going to be infinite and just based on 15 minutes. You can go in solo by yourself or get a 3-man fire team, or matchmake as well. It's going to be enabled. I do hope there's going to be some kind of good loot in return for doing such a difficult activity, and of course a bunch of us don't have the fondest memories of the Infinite Forest, so hopefully it's decent. Now, as I actually predicted a few videos back, Master Ives, the Cryptarch of the Reef, has actually been killed, so he's going to be a murder mystery to figure out who did it. Bungie said the pursuit of the killers is going to start on the 30th, so 2 weeks after festival begins, and also they said killers plural. So they're going to be along the lines of similar enemies we've seen before, so things we can shoot like the Scorn or Baron, something like that, and probably not Master Rahul. Bungie's definitely been sneaking in this kind of undertone of Guardians being quite ruthless and vengeful, and maybe going down a bit of a dark path. Like, we didn't even know Ives, but we're going out to kill more people for him. There's of course going to be a bunch of new Eververse stuff, which is pretty typical with live events, but this is going to be in the form of a new engram type called the Ephemeral Engrams. Every time you rank up your XP bar, you're going to get one Ephemeral Engram and also the original, of course, Bright or Steadfast Engram. They also confirm the loot is going to be on a knockout list, so once you get something is checked off, you can kind of slowly work your way to get all the items. On top of that, you can direct purchase any specific item when they're on sale in tested rotation, so you can just buy one Bright Dust. And then on top of that, we also of course have the Prismatic Matrix, which is 10 more items on a knockout list, so you can get quite a lot of loot in quite specific orders. I think this time last year there would be a lot of backlash about more Eververse and more microtransactions, but it's safe to say Bungie have done a great job with Forsaken, so there isn't much of a stigma around it anymore. I mean, still no one likes Test Everest, but I think because there's so much content in the base game right now, people don't mind the microtransactions as much. So I think that is going to do it for today's video. As always, hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did and want to support this channel, then leaving a like rating before you leave is much appreciated. As always, if you don't want to miss out on my new videos and be the first to watch them, you can subscribe down below and also turn on notifications. If you want to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, they are both linked down below. This image will take you to a recent video, but as always, I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.